It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of April 18th, 2003. We got 5 films to look at today. There you go, 5 right there. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that's Disney's adaptation of the classic children's book, Holes. First of all, that critic that said the first great film by an American studio this year. How dare you question the tactics of, how dare you question the Warner Brothers for their masterpiece of Kangaroo Jack and Dreamcatcher, or Fox with Daredevil, or Disney with Bringing Down the House. Or, the more I think about it, they're probably right on that front. But this is, of course, Holes, based off the Louis Sachar book, who actually wrote the script for this film. And if you remember the story of Holes, you have a young boy named Stanley Yelnats IV, played by Shia LaBeouf, for his feature film debut after many years on Even Stevens on Disney Channel. He's accused of stealing a pair of cleats from a Major League Baseball player and is sent to Camp Green Lake, which is a dry lake bed in the middle of the desert. It never rains at Camp Green Lake. It hasn't for 100 years, and the secret of a mysterious warden has inmates spend every day digging one hole to build character. But when an artifact from the famous Kissin' Kate Barlow is found in a hole, the warden forces the boys to work double time, leading Stanley to deduce that they're digging behind the warden. They're digging because the warden is looking for something, but what? And how is the mystery of Camp Green Lake connected to Stanley's family curse? Interestingly enough, this is directed by Andrew Davis, who's directed movies like Under Siege, The Fugitive, Chain Reaction, A Perfect Murder, Collateral Damage, Above the Law, mostly action films in particular. So it's very interesting to see him go down a different direction, even though this is technically his second to last film as a director, because his next film would be Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher in The Guardian, which would be more of a return to form for him from what he did before. But this is a chance for him to do something kind of outside of his norm, and I thought he did a pretty good job with it. I remember reading the story of Holes as a kid in high school. We read it during our English class, and I never really saw the movie until very much later down the road, but I was really glad I finally did, because it does a pretty good job of adapting the story into the book. I think the cast overall is very good. You've got a really good cast in general. These young actors that they have in here are very good. You got Sigourney Weaver, John Voight, Tim Blake Nelson, Henry Winkler, just a really good veteran cast to be along for the ride here. Patricia Arquette, you got Ken Davidian from Borat also in here as well as Rick Fox. I mean, there's a really good cast. Eartha Kitt. They really pack a punch in this film in terms of bringing these people in here. And I think they do a very good job of handling the script in this. And for Shia LaBeouf, it's a chance to show what he can do as a leading actor in a film. Because, of course, we're still 4 years away from his breakout year with Disturbia, Transformers, and then following it up the year later with Indiana Jones. But this is a really damn good movie. It's a really good adaptation of the book. Even if you never read the book, you can still find a lot to really get out of it. Like, it's very interesting to see something different from the director of The Fugitive, who's usually doing action films for a living, do something completely outside of his norm. And I think he did a pretty good job of handling that and bringing the story to the big screen. It's a film that's really well done. Definitely one of the more underrated Disney movies, honestly. It's one that has a pretty good soundtrack, too. I mean, once you hear that song, Dig It Up, oh, you'll never get it out of your head for at least a week. I mean, that's at least I didn't get it out of my head every time I heard it when I was a kid, watching it on the Disney Channel, whenever they played the music video for it. But it's a really damn good, catchy song. But, not much more to say about that one. Holes, definitely a film I recommend. I probably wouldn't recommend our next movie, joining the category of bringing down the house at head of state of movies with white people trying to be black, making it the centerpiece of the film. Or maybe not. I mean, okay, head of state was technically not that, but there was definitely a lot of elements of white people trying to be black in that. But bottom line, here is Jamie Kennedy bringing one of his characters from the Jamie Kennedy Experience to the big screen in Malibu's Most Wanted. Malibu's Most Wanted, which is written by the creators of Mad TV, Faxbaugh and Adam Small, and also based off of a character that was in Jamie Kennedy's WB show, the hidden camera show, The Jamie Kennedy Experiment, which was actually a really funny show. And he was playing all these different characters, and it was kind of a criminally underrated show. It only ran for a couple years on the WB. It was actually kind of fun to see Jamie Kennedy do all these different characters in general here. He also did this in his stand-up routine as well. But sometimes when you bring these sketch comedy characters to the big screen, you really need to have a good script or good comedy to really make it worthy of a feature film adaptation. And for this one, Not so much. You have Jamie Kennedy as B-Rad, who is a spoof of Eminem's character B-Rabbit from 8 Mile, and he's he is the son of Senator Bill Gluckman, played by Ryan O'Neal in this movie, who is running for governor of California and fears his son is a distraction on the campaign trail. With Brad's aspirations of becoming a rapper and his glamorization of gang life, to that end, Gluckman's campaign manager hires 2 actors to stage an abduction to bring Brad to an inner-city neighborhood where he will learn to behave himself, and I'm sure that's going to turn out well. The thing about this movie is, it's like I said before, this works in sketch format, like a brief, 5 to 7 minute segment. It's why Saturday Night Live movies based off of sketches are really hard to be very successful. I mean, you have every Blues Brothers and Wayne's World, or even something criminally underrated like MacGruber or Stuart Saves His Family, you get a movie like It's Pat the Movie, or Superstar, or The Ladies' Man, or Night at the Roxbury, where the joke kind of gets stale after a while. And in this case, the joke definitely gets stale pretty quickly, because it definitely has a lot of those elements of, let's have the stereotypes of this white guy clearly trying to be black. Let's put him in a neighborhood with all these with all these black people and see what happens. And you know exactly what's going to happen. And the film, I don't think the film is really that clever enough to really make it stand up on its own, or really have enough there to make this character last through the majority of the film. It's a film it's barely an hour and a half long. It's not the worst ever, and there are times when the jokes can be funny. Even the stupid joke can be really funny. Like, there's a part in the trailer where everyone is watching TV and they see Brad Gluckman and they all go, "Oh my god," at a specific is at the same time, and stuff like that will not really work that well. It's be kind of a lazy joke, but the way it's put together is kind of funny. I do like the idea of Snoop Dogg playing a rat in this and a mouse in this, and it's actually kind of amusing. You have a cast that also includes Taye Diggs, Anthony Anderson, Blair Underwood, Damian Dante Wayans, Bo Derek, Jeffrey Tambor, Cal Penn, Terry Crews, Mike Epps. A lot of good talent in this film. And they don't quite really do enough to really cement the film as something that is a really funny film. But it's not a film that I will say this. It's not as bad as some of the worst SNL sketch movies, but it's not a great movie either. It's just mostly kind of a mixed bag. I feel like this character probably could work better, maybe as a TV special, maybe, but not a full-length movie. Like a half hour, I think, is the maximum you can have with this character in this movie. As far as a feature film goes, I think it's a little bit too much for its own good. At times the movie can be funny, and I guess because of that, I can't really say it's a bad film per se, but I can't really say it's a great movie either. It's a film that's just kind of like, it's there. Sometimes you might get a good laugh out of it every once in a while, but it's not enough for me to say I'd recommend checking it out. I'd say, for a one-time watch, maybe you might get some elements of it that are actually kind of worth it, but it's not one you're going to watch over and over again. It is what it is, and like I said, it feels like a thing that should have been just relegated to, at the bare minimum, a TV special. Maybe not a TV series, but a special one-time event where you have like a special, like a Christmas special or something like that, like a half-hour Christmas special, like they did with Urkel, like the Urkel Saves Santa one, or other characters like that. Like, contain it down to like something that is short and sweet. It works fine, but for a feature-length film, not so much. So that's my thoughts on Malibus Most Wanted. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. Chow Yun-fat and Seann William Scott in the action comedy Bulletproof Monk. In Bulletproof Monk, Chow Yun-fat plays a mysterious monk who has no name. He zigzagged the globe to protect an ancient scroll, a scroll that holds the key to unlimited power. Unlimited power! I had to do the Emperor from Revenge of the Sith, unlimited power. I wish I had effects on these videos I do, so I could have like the lightning bolts coming out of my hands, but it would look really cheap. But we're not talking about Star Wars right now. We're talking about Bulletproof Monk. But he's protecting a scroll that holds the key to unlimited power. Now the monk must look for a new scroll keeper. And Carr, played by Seann William Scott, is an unlikely candidate, a streetwise young man who's only interested in himself. So he's basically Stifler from American Pie, and I'll get to that in just a second. But when he inadvertently saves the Bulletproof Monk from capture, the two become partners in a scheme to save the world from the scroll's most avid pursuer. Back with spectacular special effects, not really, and martial arts action. The monk car and a sexy Russian mob girl called Bad Girl, played by Jamie King, must struggle to find, face, and fight the ultimate enemy. Let's start off with the first thing that's kind of wrong with the film right off the bat, and that's Sean William Scott, who, I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to go outside of his normal shtick, but he's just Stifler in this movie. I mean, this is really just like, he's literally the same person as Stifler from the American Pie movies that he is in this film. Now, going into later in the year, when he's in The Rundown with Dwayne Johnson, that's at least another character that I can see him not playing the same character from American Pie in. But in this, he's clearly the American Pie guy in this. And, I mean, he can get a good laugh every once in a while, but I don't think him and his chemistry with Chow Yun-fat works very well here. I don't think Jamie King works as really that intimidating of a female protagonist in here. The only real person that comes out of this unscathed is Chow Yun-fat, who really is giving it his all in the movie. Those special effects that they say are spectacular, they're really not. The action sequences in general in this are not really all that strong, and it just really doesn't live up to all the potential I think it has. I think it's because it has a first-time director involved in Paul Hunter, who is mostly known for doing stuff like the Nike freestyle commercials. He's done a lot of stuff for music videos, TV, and all that. I feel like if you got a better director to do this, maybe a John Woo, maybe he could have made this something worth it in the end, but I think they got the wrong person to direct this film. I think the the writing team is not really all that strong in this either. Just so many people, and I say John Woo should do it. He was actually one of the producers on here, so maybe he was attached at one point, but then had dropped out to do the movie he would do later on in the year. But as far as this film goes, it's just not worth it. I mean, Chow Yun-fat's probably the only thing that really comes out of this, saying that there's actually some positivity to that, but it's mostly just watching him and Stifler trying to save the world, and it just really didn't feel like it was worth it on my part. Not really funny, not really all that exciting, just kind of a mediocre film at best. So, with that said, let's move on to the next movie. Another comedy, that is Chasing Poppy. Well, at least Rosalind Sanchez has a better movie here than she does with Boat Trip, but that's not really saying a whole lot. You've seen this type of a movie before. Three women discover that their boyfriend has been dating all three of them at the same time. A discovery that leads them on an adventure throughout Los Angeles, California. And of course, you see Rosalind Sanchez, Sofia Vergara, and also Jackie Velasquez, who the last one I don't think has been in anything of noteworthiness as far as I know. But I don't know. I need to double check now. Contemporary Christian and Latin pop singer. I honestly didn't know anything about her until I saw this movie, and I saw the movie, and like I said, it's pretty much the same film we've seen done before. You know, it's that movie. It's like that movie Worth Winning with Mark Harmon, where he's dating the three different women, and they find out that they're all dating the same person. It's The Other Woman, you know, with Cameron Diaz. It's that same type of a film. Three women find out they're dating the same person. It's so the same that I can't even hold my mouth, hold my breath together. But yeah, there's really nothing more I can say about this film. It's not really all that really interesting. It's not really all that It's not, I just said it's not really all that interesting. It's not really all that funny. There's nothing really all that different compared to those movies I just mentioned. I would say that probably this is one of the better movies that takes that formula and tries to make something out of it. But even then, that's not really saying a whole lot, because this movie itself isn't really all that great. They're not really giving these actresses a chance to really do anything that funny. They just be like, just reactive stuff, and don't even be like, you know, like don't have a real sense of characters. Like you have one who's the bookworm, you know, one who's the sexy mistress, one who has like one who I can't even remember what her character was. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, and so like there's nothing really all that different. And you got this fourth woman in there who's just kind of thrown into the ring in there to kind of like change it up a little bit. But even then, it's just like what's the point here? I mean, you got D.L. Hughley in here as well. You have Freddie Rodriguez, Maria Conchita Alonso. That's really all I know about this film that's maybe worth it. I mean, there's nothing really all that funny. There's clearly a lot of talent in here that probably needed something better in terms of a script and a good director to actually make this something unique and different. But it's a film we've seen done to death so many times beforehand, and it very rarely works. And even when it does work with something like The Other Woman, it's a very formulaic film that just feels like it's nothing really that groundbreaking or anything. It's just kind of like you did the best job out of all these other movies that tried to make this work, and even then, it's nothing really that special overall. But that's just my personal take on it. So that's Chasing Poppy. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, which I think is, aside from Holes, probably the best overall film we have this week, and that's Christopher Guest's A Mighty Wind. When folk icon Irving Steinblum passes away, he leaves behind a legacy of music and family and performers. He is shepherd to folk stardom. To celebrate a life spent submerged in folk, Irving's long-loving son Jonathan has decided to put together a memorial concert featuring some of Steinblum's best-loved musicians. There's Mitch and Mickey, who are the epitome of young love until their partnership was torn apart by heartbreak. Classic troubadours, the folksmen, whose records were endlessly entertaining for anyone able to punch a hole in the center to play them. The new mainstream singers, who are the most meticulously color-coordinated new fake ever to hit an amusement park. And now for one night only in New York City's Town Hall, these three groups will reunite and gather together to celebrate the music that almost made them famous. And it's a movie by Christopher Guest, and of course it's going to have a lot of SCTV regulars. Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, Harry Shearer, Michael McKean, Christopher Guest, of course, Jane Lynch, John Michael Higgins, Parker Posey, Fred Willard, Bob Balaban, Jennifer Cooley, Christopher Moynihan, Don Lake, Ed Begley Jr., Rachel Harris, Larry Miller. Just a great group of talent in here, and they are really, really fun to watch. I mean, Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy are having the time of their lives playing these different characters, and it's just fun to see them do something kind of outside of their norm. It's a very funny film. The music is surprisingly really good, too. I'm not really much of a folk music person, but I found myself really enjoying the music in this a lot. It's a very good film. It's a film that is probably my favorite of Christopher Guest's work. I mean, he's done a lot of great stuff, like This Is Spinal Tap, and his most recent film at that point was Best in Show, but this is probably my overall favorite film from him. And Waiting for Guffman, of course. And this is probably my favorite film overall from him. Very funny stuff, really well done, great writing, great cast overall to make it work. It's a really damn good movie. I can't recommend it enough. A Mighty Wind. So with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll wrap up April on the next episode with 5 movies, including the star-studded ensemble thriller Identity. We also have Confidence. We have another star-studded comedy, which I think is criminally underrated. It Runs in the Family. Somebody takes the chance and makes the first ever reality movie, and we'll better to do it than the people behind The Real World. We'll take a look at The Real Cancun. And we'll take a look at an Al Pacino film that's criminally underrated, in my opinion. People I Know. We'll take a look at those 5 films on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the plays on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. There we go. If you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.